5 things every couple should talk about to finish rich. Hey everyone, Jather here, and in this episode, we will talk about the 5 topics that are very important for couples to talk about so that they will achieve financial freedom in their future. Now, it's been a month since I've been married, and of course, one of my goals is for our starting family to have a solid financial plan so we could finish rich. Now, I know a lot about personal finance. However, when it comes to family finance, I admit to having minimal actual and personal experience. So, in order to help me with that, I read the book Smart Couples Finish Rich by David Bach, and I applied the exercises there. So in this episode, I'll simply be sharing the major points that I learned from reading and applying the lessons from this book. Now, topic number 1, your personal values. I found it very interesting that the first major exercise in the book was actually not about money. It did not begin with income statements or the statement of assets and liabilities, nor with insurance or investments, nothing like that. The first thing the book focused on was each individual's personal values. It was not about money. It was about what money represented in each of our lives. And being able to understand each other's values was the first step to finishing rich. The first lines that really hit me were the following. The two of you were probably raised differently when it came to money. The two of you probably value money differently. The two of you probably spend money differently. And how you spend money has nothing to do with how much you love each other. In fact, money has very little to do with love and a lot to do with how much you fight. Again, that was from the book Smart Couples Finish Rich. And upon reflecting on these lines, I realized that while I've been exposed to hundreds of financial books and I knew all my personal and financial goals, I had absolutely no idea what my partner's money values were. And most likely, she also had no idea what money meant for me as well. So we set on to do the first exercise called the values circle. And here's how the exercise worked. So prior to the exercise, both of us had agreed to devote time to work on our financial plans. So this was not a spur of the moment activity, and I feel that I have to mention this because when you're gonna do this exercise, both of you need to be fully present in that moment to get the most out of the activity. Now, when you're seated down and you're focused on this, you will take turns in asking each other this question. What's really important to you? What's the purpose of money in your life? And the partner's duty is to listen and clarify what the value meant. So no interruptions, you just clarify, what does that mean for you? Why do you say that is? And you just write it down. And you repeat the process, taking turns, until each of you have about 5 values listed down. So here's an example. When we sat down, I asked May, what's important to you? What is the purpose of money in your life? And she said, family. That's a very important value. I asked, what do you mean by family? She said, yung providing a good life for them. Then I asked, when you say a good life, what do you mean by that? She gave an example like, for example, kay daddy, he wants to retire in Bataan. So I want to make sure that he's taken care of. We went back and forth on this. She asked me my values and she clarified. And again, I asked for her values. It was a back and forth process, just listening, clarification, until we came up with these 10 values. I'm showing these to you in no specific order, and I'll just highlight a few of them. So for me, security is a big value, and I like being prepared for any emergency, and I want that peace of mind that no matter what happens, we'll be okay. In her terms, security meant a totally different thing. It's the same word, but it means different things for each of us. So for her, it was learning how to invest and managing her own money. Take note of this. When you're gonna do this exercise, when you're gonna talk about your values, it may seem like you're talking about the same thing. You're using the same words, but you have to clarify. You have to ask, okay, what do you mean by that? Anong ibig sabihin yan? And that is where you will see what the value really means. Now, if you'll be doing this exercise with your partner, please try to get a copy of the book Smart Couples Finish Rich, because it will really give you a lot of tips on how to talk about money as a couple. Now, moving forward, once both of us knew what was really important, we moved on to topic number 2, our life goals. Now, the life goals are the specific things that we would like to be, have, or do in relation to each value listed down in number 1. For instance, my security value translated into a goal of building up our emergency funds, while May's health value translated into a goal of exercising 3 times a week. For our family and relationship values, it was translated into our goals of going back to the Philippines, spending time with family, traveling to the US and Canada, where our families resided. May has a brother there, and me, my brother and sister is in the US. So those were the goals we set for the family and relationship values. Now, take note that sometimes times, these goals don't require any financial resources, and that's perfectly fine. Also, it's very possible that you will have a goal that will actually address two values. It will hit on two important things in your life, and that's great because you're hitting two birds with one stone. Now, the important aspect here is that each value is represented into a goal. That means when it's a goal, in the next 12 months, you'll work on this goal. And by working on these goals, because they're attached to your important values, your personal values, then it means you're moving forward in life. You're actually building towards a lifestyle that you want and desire. Now, once we've listed down our goals, we actually ended our financial planning session. And we called it a night because we were going to need energy for the next session. And if you're doing this process, if somewhere along the way you get tired, then okay, stop. You don't have to go at it all in one sitting. So for our next session, we would be tackling topic number 3, the monthly budget, our monthly cash flow. Now, before I share on how we went about our budget planning, I would just like to emphasize the importance of the previous 2 steps, identifying your values and then your goals. Because life should never just be about the money. Money is just a resource to help us get what we want out of life. So the first step is defining, okay, what is it that we want out of life? Let's not restrict ourselves immediately with a budget. That's why it's really not recommended to go into step 3 without first understanding your values and without setting goals. Because if you go straight into the monthly budget, then the whole activity would be meaningless. Okay, anyway, in creating the monthly budget, there were 4 things we had to list down and take account of. First thing was the income. This was the regular monthly income as well as the annual bonuses we received. We listed our estimated expenses, again, monthly and ad hoc as needed. So yung mga once a year expenses kasama dyan. Then we listed down our assets, our savings and investments, and then our liabilities. This included debts plus long-term payment commitments. So for example, right now we're renting a place. So kasama yun na for the next 2 years, we need to pay this amount and so on. So we included it there. Now, I won't be listing the specifics anymore because each household will definitely be unique. But ultimately, the goal of this exercise is to answer the following questions. Financially, it will establish where are we right now. And financially, based on our goals, where do we want to go? So we had these goals and some of them required a financial resource. For example, traveling to Canada, traveling to US, may budget dyan. So where would it fit into the monthly budget? So first, again, it was to establish where we are right now and where we want to go. And then third aspect that we want to answer in the monthly budget is what do we have to do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, and month-to-month basis so that we make sure we are on track with our goals. By trying to answer these questions, we were then able to set the household budgets, our personal allowances, our savings, the amounts we were setting aside for each goal that we had. And more importantly, we also agreed to do our monthly routine to update our financial statements, allocate our savings, and make sure that we are indeed on track with our goals. Now, I know I skipped a lot in the story on how we specifically computed for the numbers. I purposely left that out since cash flow and asset management can't be explained in just one video or in just one article. But if you are deeply interested in the topic, I recommend you get a personal finance book or you can enroll in my Winning the Game of Wealth online seminar because that's where I explain it comprehensively. And this way, you have an actual activity, a step-by-step guide for your financial plans. But not to leave you hanging, here are 3 very important tips when working out your monthly budget. First tip is to be patient. This process will take you a couple of hours, so it would be best to break them down into multiple sessions. So kami personally, it took us 4 hours broken down into 3 sessions. Now second, never put pressure on your partner to spend less. And sabihin, tingnan mo, ang gastos-gastos natin dito and so on. Never put that pressure because this will turn every aspect of the budget into a debate and that's not what you want. You just want to see how it is, how's your spending? Both of you see it very neutral, no bias. Take a look. And the final tip is that as you will be working on ways to reduce spending, don't forget that in your budget, you can also look for ways to increase your income. So don't focus on reducing expenses. Also try to think about ways, how can I increase income? Okay, so moving forward after the monthly budget, what's next? Topic number 4, the contingency plan. And this is where we tackle insurance, healthcare, and investments. Once we finished working out our monthly budget, it came to the hard, hypothetical conversations. And this meant answering the questions, what if one of us suddenly gets terribly sick or passes away? How would we want to take care of the people we are leaving behind? Financially, how much would they need, and what is the support that they would need so that they are taken care of even if one of us passes away? Admittedly, we are still in the middle of this process as I record this video, and May is currently inquiring with her company on what her healthcare coverage is. Meanwhile, I've been scouting different insurance plans and providers. Additionally, we've set aside a budget for our future healthcare needs as well. And in doing this process together, I believe that the most valuable benefit is that both of us are aware of exactly what we will do if the other person passes away. And no one is left clueless, walang iniiwan na hanging. Because imagine if something devastating happens, the last thing we would want to do to each other is to make each other worry about the money. So rather than manghuhula yung isang tao kung anong gagawin niya, we would rather talk about it now and plan it while both of us can still talk. And that wraps up the segment on contingency plans. But there's one more important topic, and that is topic number 5, sex, family planning, and family planning methods. Now that we have all these plans and budgets and monthly cash flows all laid out, all of these plans will have to be overhauled if we suddenly have a baby. And just to share with you guys, our plan is to have our first baby in the year 2017 because we want to be able to first travel Europe and enjoy it as a couple with no kids first. And to do that, well, of course, we had to talk about sex and family planning methods. And I have to be flat out candid here. The human reproductive system is just so complex. And when I was learning how to count the days, what's day 1, and how you can predict and estimate the ovulation days, how do you track the basal temperature and use the mucus method so we could determine when we could do it and when we shouldn't do it, my goodness. I felt that I was learning how to invest in the stock market all over again. And as complicated as it may seem at first, what amazed me was this feeling of, wow, we're really working together on this as a couple to make sure our plans happen, and even in matters as intimate as this. And that feeling of being close to your partner up to this level, that's truly something special. Now, it's not my intention to meddle in your intimate affairs, but this is just a reminder that yes, you should talk about this. You should talk about sex and your family planning methods. And if you need help learning the methods, there are many resources online. You can consult your OBGYN. There are also multiple institutions that offer seminars and workshops on this topic. Okay? So we've discussed a lot of things. Let's now have a recap. Here are the topics that you should plan on talking about with your partner very, very soon. First is your personal values. What does money mean to you? What's important in your life right now? Number 2, based on your values, you list down your goals. Then number 3, you talk about your monthly cash flow and your budgets. Then number 4, you talk about contingency plans. What are your plans if the other person suddenly passes away? Talk about your insurance, your healthcare, your investments. And then finally, the last topic is you talk about sex and family planning methods. Now, I know I presented a lot of things to do here, but be patient with yourselves and do not rush it. After all, it's a continuous and ongoing process of working together. The most important part is you get started with your discussion, and of course, you do it together. Now, I just want to give a sharing tip. If you will be sending or sharing this episode with your partner, remember to share it with love and respect. Ask what they think and what they feel about the article, and absolutely do not share it in a I told you so tone na parang sabi ko sa'yo, ito kailangan natin gawin. Ikaw kasi ganyan. No, please don't do that. Share it with love, share it with respect, and work on it as a team. And that's about it for this episode. I truly hope that this has helped you and your partner on your journey to financial success. Until the next episode, remember that wealth is a choice, so choose to be wealthy.